Prices for mid-engine Ferrari models turned in the last 3 months. Models that saw stable prices for years took a nosedive, while prices for other models stabilized after severe corrections. Welcome to the mid-engine Ferrari market update. Price trends are changing, and this can have important implications for value-conscious buyers and owners. Let's first have a look at the largest changes, and then focus on the models for which the depreciation rate didn't change so much. All the way at the end, I will also give you a small update about the channel. Let's start with the first big change, one that surprised me. Prices for 2 older models nosedived. First up are the 360s. Over here we have the price trend split by the automatic and manuals. The 360s sat at the top of many depreciation leaderboards during the last year, due to their leading price stability. It's one of the few models for which prices increased during the pandemic, but didn't correct during the summer of 2022. Especially the automated market was stable. Since July 2022, prices hovered around $110,000, sometimes a bit higher, sometimes a bit lower, but much of this can be attributed to sheer randomness. The last 3 months though introduced a significant change. The trend broke. Prices decreased by 5% or $8,800, pushing the year-over-year rate down to 13.8% or $16,100. Breaking this down, it turns out that it are mainly the mid to high mileage cars that are responsible for this drop, meaning the ones that have more than 28,000 miles. Now what makes this especially interesting is that we can observe the same drop in the manual market. Naturally, the price uncertainty is much larger here. You can see that from the confidence interval. The drop in the manual market is then also not statistically confirmed, meaning that it could be the result of chance. What do you think caused this sudden shift in prices? Are we looking at a sentiment shift regarding 360s, or will they bounce back? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Surprisingly, the same pattern is visible in the F430 market. The F430 market has held up exceptionally well compared to the rest of the market, but has been slightly weaker than the 360 market. We can see a big surge, stability till mid-2023, and as it turns out now, the beginning of a potential larger decline. Value started to decline in June of last year, stabilized a bit during the winter, and now continue to fall. This means that they are 10.2% or $15,800 lower than 1 year ago. Before inflation correction, prices are lower than at the end of 2021. So the 360 and F430 experienced significant changes towards the downside. There's however also one model that moved in the other direction, confirming its bottoming pattern. It's the 458. 458s are often perceived as cars that keep their value well. And they do, in general. Don't get me wrong. But values corrected substantially during the general market correction in the second half of 2022. After that it took a moment for values to settle again, especially in the spider market. Now, however, we can see that price changes start to be minimal. Both the spider and the coupe dropped by 2%, but these changes aren't statistically confirmed and could be the result of chance. Now all of the other mid-engine models saw much smaller changes in depreciation patterns. Values are much more similar to the ones that we saw in the previous market update. But I know that many of you tuned in for the trends, so let's have a look. Starting with the F355 Spiders, we can see stable prices since the beginning of 2023. Since last year, prices are even up by 6.5% or $7,400. Unfortunately for owners though, this increase isn't confirmed. The F355 market is small, meaning that the price uncertainty is high, so you need to interpret this increase with care. Looking at the confidence interval, I think we can also evaluate the general trend as stable. For the other models such as the coupe and the Targas, there unfortunately isn't enough data. Moving to the turbocharged models like the 488, we can see that the trends are still pointing down. Do you see the difference to the naturally aspirated models? Prices increased during the pandemic, topped and declined without bottoming. Prices are now 6.8% lower in the spider market and 7.1% lower in the coupe market. These values are indeed marginally lower than before, and we can see a tentative decrease in the depreciation rate. It is too early to state that values are bottoming, but this could be a premature indication. If we continue with the F8, we can see that prices are still falling quicker and in a more linear way. Since the market top in the summer of 2022, prices declined in a stable manner, especially in the coupe market. Prices are now 8.8% or $35,900 lower than 1 year ago. For the Spider, this is 9.3% or $46,000. Another interesting development can be seen in the supply level. After a long period of increases, it finally seems to have topped. This potentially could slow down the depreciation rate. Adding the 296s, we can see that coupe prices quickly fell below F8 Spider prices. Splitting this a bit further, it means that a 2022 296 coupe is priced exactly the same as a 2021 F8 Spider. We can also see that price trends are starting to line up. The 296 coupe dropped by 9.9% or $48,400 during the last 6 months. Extrapolating this, we would arrive at a loss of approximately 20% over 1 year. An extremely high value that seems unlikely to materialize given the recent developments. There's a good chance that the 296 trend will line up with the F8 trend. And that brings us to the SF90, the quickest depreciating Ferrari of the last few years. The first cars were priced extremely high at more than $900,000, but prices quickly started to fall and didn't stop to fall. As you can see, there has been a small decrease in the depreciation rate, but it's still high compared to other models. The coupe lost 13.9% or $97,200 during last year. The Spider seems to be falling at a similar rate. Extrapolating this trend by 3 months, we would arrive at a drop of 16.8%. Now in the previous market update I excluded the track-focused models, so I'll include them now. But please bear in mind that the price uncertainty in these markets can be high. Starting off with the Challenge Stradale and Scuderia, we can indeed see that the confidence intervals can be large. Prices were relatively stable. The Challenge Stradale is up by 2.2% and the Scuderia down by 0.6%, but none of these changes are statistically confirmed. Moving to the Speciales and Pistas, we can see that Pista Coupes and Speciales held up the best compared to the pandemic market top, but also that this segment, in general, has been stable. Prices dropped between 0 and 5% during last year. A fairly decent result. Also note the prices of the coupes. They are priced at similar levels, even though that the mileages on a Speciale are almost twice as high as the ones on a Pista. Are you still with me after all of those numbers? I can't blame you if you got lost along the way. So let's aggregate that we've just saw. This namely really highlights the differences between the various models. Over here we have in orange the depreciation rates of last year, and in blue the ones that we saw in the previous market update, meaning the rates between March of this year and last year. Focusing on the difference between the blue and the orange bars, we can see that the depreciation rate increased tremendously in the 360 and F430 market. This really is a remarkable result. The only time I saw these big changes was just after the pandemic price top, when the market corrected with above average rates. The data is checked and corrected if necessary for changes in the market composition to ensure that the price trend gives a correct picture of what's happening. It's difficult to fully remove these effects, but they don't seem to be the cause of these changes. Looking at other models, we can see that the 458 continued to depreciate less and less, a development which, I think, was expected by most of us. Now besides those 3 larger changes, there are also a few smaller changes that need to be recognized. SF90s and 488s depreciated, for example, slightly less. F8s on the other hand lost slightly more, but I wouldn't put too much importance on this gap. Also the F355 deserves a special mention. It seems like value surged, but remember that the uncertainty in this increase is large. I would go with a stable development. So what does this mean for the rate in general? Are Ferrari still depreciating less than the market average? Over here we have the US year-over-year price changes for almost all cars that feature on my channel. On the horizontal axis we have the price change compared to last year in percentages, and on the vertical axis we have the number of cars to which this change applies. The average decrease during last year was 6%, and most cars lost between 11 and 1%. This means that the general mid-engine Ferrari market lost approximately the same as the average. Only the 458 and F355 lost clearly less, while the SF90 lost significantly more. It also shows why the development in the F430 and 360 markets is rather surprising. With rates of 10.2 and 13.2%, they lost way more than the average. Let's wrap up and conclude. We saw that depreciation patterns changed significantly in some mid-engine segments. 360s and F30s saw a sudden large decline, pushing rates over the 10% mark. This is a significant deviation from the relatively stable trends that we saw before. 458s on the other hand continue to flatten, confirming that they might be drifting towards a more stable price level. Now all of these developments are of course descriptive. They contain some information about short-term future prices, but cannot predict long-term future prices with any degree of certainty. The decreases in the 360 and F430 market are relatively large, and especially in the 360 market quite sudden. This makes the future trend rather uncertain. Will we see a continuation of the drop, a stabilization, or a recovery? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As a value-conscious owner or buyer, I think it makes a lot of sense to monitor the situation closely so that you can take action if prices continue to fall at this rate. The uncertainty in the 458 market is smaller, and prices behaved in line with the historical trend, meaning that it's likely that the short-term trend will continue on the current path. As long as you didn't buy at the pandemic top or shortly after, values shouldn't give you much of a headache. We of course also had a look at the rest of the market, but changes over there are much smaller. SF90s continue to depreciate slightly less, F355s increased a bit or were stable, and the rate in the 488 and F8 market changed only slightly. Now before we wrap up, I still want to give you a small update on the channel. I'll namely start to lower the video frequency and will upload only once every 2 weeks instead of every week. This means a few things. First, some market updates will appear less frequent. Instead of every 3 months, I will update them every 6 months. Second, I will drop some unpopular market updates and try to cover those in updates for the complete market category. Think about the recent updates for the complete front-engine GT market and affordable sports cars. Now from a YouTube perspective, this is quite a risky thing to do. Generally speaking, the algorithm doesn't like it if you upload less videos. So it would mean a lot if you continue to support the channel. It's still a hobby, and right now I would like to prioritize some other things. One of them though, being the fixing of some issues on the back end to streamline the future of the channel. And with that we arrived at the end of the video. As always, if you enjoy this data-driven way of analyzing car prices but would like to see a video for a different car, head over to my channel. Over there you'll find data-driven market updates for a large variety of cars. Can't find the car you're looking for? Let me know the name of the car by commenting it down below in the comment section. Once there are enough requests for a certain car, I'll make a video about it. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in 2 weeks for a new market update.